What are your thoughts on the missing tourist submarine that went down to see the Titanic? Submarines are fucking terrifying. End of story. Personally, I think they're dead. I think it sunk and they got crushed under the pressure. It happened quick. That's why we can't hear anything off it. That's why there's no signal or SOS. My guess. Anyway. Well, they've had the most authentic Titanic experience in about 100 years. All of the warning signs were there. The lawsuits against the company. The past employees stating that the company standards weren't high enough for an exploration of this magnitude. The state of the metal death tube before the descent. This is just Challenger all over again. But instead of miles high in the atmosphere with millions watching, it was miles underwater while nobody was around. The greed of companies will continue to doom people in horrific ways until the end of time because people with more money than we can imagine won't listen to those who know the science. Nightmare fuel. I'm extremely claustrophobic and I have a fear of drowning. So that whole situation gives me a panic attack just thinking about it. I just hope it went quickly. The Logitech controller probably didn't kill them. Probably. If anything. From what I understand, it was the most reliable thing on board. I feel bad for them. But it's a little like when someone goes to the running of the bulls in Spain and gets trampled by a bull. Like, you had to know there was a very realistic chance of that happening. I'm not saying they deserve to die or anything. But if you don't want to drown, maybe stay away from experimental submarines. I'm a marine biologist and have been fortunate enough to take part in some research trips where we've been studying habitats as deep as 6,000 meters with ROVs. Remotely operated vehicles. I've had this discussion with colleagues and friends before, but I don't see any practical need for manned submersibles for this type of thing in research or tourism in this day and age. Many of the top ROVs these days have multiple cameras with 4K video feeds to the surface. Some even have stereoscopic 3D imagery. They're also equipped with manipulator arms and other scientific gear for whatever the needs of your study may be. Compare this to even the less dodgy submersibles like Alvin. And I don't see the benefit of sending a human down in a cramped metal tube, sphere etc. with a tiny viewing window when the robot could provide much better science or viewing experience in real time with infinitely less risk. I appreciate in this case it's all about bragging rights and a load of rich people wanting to say they went to the Titanic. But surely people would pay to go out on a research-type vessel and watch lovely high-def footage, whilst the ROV pilot navigates around the wreck, with 99% less risk of a horrible death. I think that if it's true that the window wasn't rated for the depth of the Titanic, if it's true that the hull of the sub was showing wear, and if it's true that they waited 8 hours to report them missing, then those who made the decision to send people, including a 19-year-old, into potentially fatal depths that the vessel allegedly couldn't handle, need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, if applicable. You couldn't pay me $250,000 to do that. I'm sad and I really hope they're found. I don't care how rich they are. There is a father and son on that sub. It hurts my heart thinking how excited they probably were to go on this bonding trip together. Nobody deserves to die like this. I'm now invested in checking every few hours for a rescue update. It's looking like they're goners, so I just hope it imploded. The thought of being trapped in a little metal can on the seabed and stewing in your demise for days, in pitch black while you either slowly freeze or suffocate to death. What could be worse? The terror and total despair. The panic and claustrophobia. The guilt of a father bringing his teenage son. I just hope it was quick. They paid a whole lot of money to die. There's 3 possibilities. It imploded during its descent. They're stuck underwater with no hope of rescue. It's floating on the surface somewhere but they're still stuck inside because it can only be opened from the outside. I think it's pretty fucked up that some rich folk sunk and died and then 100 and some years later they did it again. Edit. Everyone knows that mostly poor folk died in the first sink. But we don't make fun of victims in this house. Hence their absence from the above. A bit morbid, but if they didn't go quickly. I wonder what the other passengers said to the CEO before they all died. A movie will be out soon. I wonder if one day there will be another tourist submarine that goes down to see it. Like attempting to climb the Everest or crashing your personal helicopter. It's an expensive way to die. People keep referring to the sinking of the Titanic as rich folk dying. The overwhelming majority of people who died were poor or middle class.